Artificial intelligence is altering every corner of our lives, from the media we consume to the medicine we're told is designed to heal us. It's reshaping journalism, social norms, politics, and even our freedoms like privacy and free speech. AI promises breakthroughs in education, but it also casts a shadow of deception that could unravel the very truth itself. How should Christians respond as AI transforms education, healthcare, and even democracy? Today's guest is here to tackle these urgent questions and more right now. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Skywatch Television. I'm Joe Artis Horn. You are in for a major treat today as we continue a riveting conversation that we started with our special guest last week. Let me introduce who's here. He is an expert on national security and foreign affairs whose service has included working on multinational programs for the Department of the Army at the Pentagon and recently completed studies in generative AI at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Please welcome Lieutenant Colonel Robert Maginnis.
Thank you, Joe.
Welcome back. We're ready to do it again. Last week was never going to be enough time to unpack the focus of today's discussion. I'm going to bring this up on the screen for you because we're talking about Bob Maginnis' brand new book, AI for Mankind's Future, a Christian Perspective on the High-Tech Revolution. And if you missed last week's program, you have to go back to the archives. Wherever it is that you watch Skywatch Television, maybe go to the App Store and download our mobile app. It's free, and so far it's the one platform they haven't canceled us on. Ladies and gentlemen, we were never going to have time last week, nor will we this week, to get to all of the material that is in this fascinating new masterpiece. So we're going to hit the ground running and do the very best we can. But this is an explosive conversation around not just emerging technology, Bob, but technology that's being used every single day in every aspect of life that we are living as human beings on the globe. If you're a human being, AI is affecting your current reality, but most people don't realize yet to what degree. I want to dive in right away. In your view, what ways is AI already reshaping journalism and media consumption, social norms and behaviors, and civil liberties such as privacy, freedom of speech, due process, court, the ability to legally adjudicate something reliably? How is life already changing as a result of AI?
Many outlets of journalism are using AI to not only fact check, but in some cases to write. Reporters are being mandated, you have to use AI in this way in order to create your stories. So this is many of the outlets, which much of what we're seeing on social media is manipulated to a certain degree through AI. Certainly songs are being written by AI. Obviously, the illustrations that we see in advertisements are done by AI. There's very little today, if anything, in this menu of music and video and television and so forth that doesn't have a component to AI. And I suspect it's going to be much, much more in the future, especially as AI's capability improves.
Right.
Voices. They can mimic your voice, they can mimic your face, they can mimic your thoughts, and then they can put you out there. And there are a lot of lawsuits, obviously, that are coming as a direct result of people, stealing their persona and using them to endorse a product or to appear in ways that you would not want your real person to appear. So this is just significantly altering the world in which we've grown up in.
I almost personally bought health supplements from an online store because one of my heroes in cardiovascular health, Barbara O'Neill, appeared to be in video endorsing this product. And I went to the website thinking I was going to be enlightened. And then I found out that her own Facebook pages and her family, her daughter came out and said, that's not even us. And that's how convincing it was. And I'm around, technology and production all the time. In what ways is AI revolutionizing medical diagnostics and treatment? And what ethical and spiritual concerns do Christians have? What do they raise in terms of AI being used in this way? Because I know that that's one of the frontiers that a lot of really good people are hoping that AI will be able to help us with. Let's get faster diagnostics. Let's get to faster treatments. Let's get under the hood of this thing and find out where this malevolent autoimmunity really stems from in a way that humans by ourselves for decades couldn't sort out.
Yeah, the diagnostic capability of AI is absolutely phenomenal. Anything that we think we could do in the past, this is many times more. I used some of the Mayo Clinic's research and pointed out a lot of the transformational changes within the medical community. And the doctors that are not using AI as a second source or as a helping them to diagnose may miss out, because what the AI can do is they can look across the entire world,
Right.
all the records,
Yep.
and they can say, we've seen these indicators on this type of symptom, and this is what came out of it, 2, 5, 10 years later. It's a great tool, and you've got to employ it if you're trying to use state-of-the-art technology to advance our medical conditions. And yet, even the healthcare business, beyond that, you have a lack of nursing capability across the world. I think one survey said 5 million. We're going to be short here shortly. Wow. And so you have AI-driven robots that are going to do a lot of the menial things that a nurse would have done in the past, but out of necessity and, for accuracy purposes, they're going to be part of the healthcare system. You could have an entire book just on recent changes in the healthcare industry and how significant they are going to be for our longevity and our quality of health.
I'm at an age where I think about, is Medicare going to pay for this, this, or this? Some of those decisions are being made by algorithms now, by AIs. They're looking at, the cost benefit or the cost, she's too old. We won't be doing that with her because it's just the system can't bear it.
Well, and we've seen this play out time and again, how much people farm their faith out in institutions or people or systems when you attach it to their health. Like some of our biggest disagreements as a nation over the last decade have been over health and healthcare, et cetera. And we're not going to do a show on this, but basically people have been conditioned to believe that much of what we think of as our traditional medicine, the ones in the lab coats, they have the brightest minds in the world navigating disease, and these giant machines that cost millions of dollars are going to be accurate in diagnosing and treatment. And I am not here to disparage advances in technology in total, because we do learn things about our body sometimes through imagery. Once we know what we're dealing with, we can maybe more effectively choose a plan that fits our approach to treatment. But here's the catch. When we are so conditioned to trust machines to navigate this for us, we're trust to accept whatever they reveal as beyond contestation. The AI program that this high-level hospital is using says you have XYZ. Now, I realize that a lot of people out there are going to say, well, Joe Horn is now wearing his tinfoil hat, but this is how distrusting I am. Would they use it as a means to target people that are in opposition of their agenda? Well, I go in and they don't want me around anymore. I'm sorry to inform you, Mr. Horn, but the AI technology says you now have this and here's your treatment. And the treatment itself is going to kill you. But we're made to believe it's our best shot at fighting. Is this making sense? I'm being very careful how I skirt that. But how does the Christian worldview shape our understanding of the healing age?
Well, end-of-life issues, which is what Sharon brings up, and euthanasia is a big thing. And even in Canada, which is right next door to us, or large parts of Europe, and certainly in China, where they're going to ration, quality care, and you have to have a mechanism to know how you're going to apply that. And they're using artificial intelligence in many cases to dictate who is at the door and who's not. And what you get and what you don't get. So, though there are indications that it can extend life because of, the advancements in pharmaceuticals, the advancement in medical care, even surgery. It's just phenomenal, what you can use AI to do with little things that we never thought of in the past. It is a boon, but it comes with high risk.
That's right.
And Joe raises a really good point because, as you know through your research, that these technologies are being advanced by technocrats, those who are looking at human society through a utilitarian lens. In other words, it will evaluate what kind of care you get based on your value to society, especially in China, but that's coming here as well. And as you say, in Canada, where medical assistance in dying, or MAID, is becoming more and more popular. More states here in the United States are adopting medically assisted suicide. If you've got AI assisting in making those determinations. So, I'm sorry, the AI says we can't cure you because you're X number of years old. You've only got so much life left, and we've only got so many resources to allocate. We have this idea that medicine will always look at the Hippocratic Oath, do no harm.
Right.
And yet instead, it's being put forward by technocrats and their view of society as this utilitarian utopia. That is coming, and it is frightening.
1984 all over again.
1984.
Or Soylent Green.
Meanwhile, there's the narrative that you can download your consciousness into a chip and continue to experience eternal life following the happy ending clinic. At least that's the narrative according to AI.
And there are theologians that promote that. I talk about that in the book, in which not only porting your conscience, but offering salvation through and all host of other benefits by embracing this new life that AI is going to introduce to humanity. At some point, this planet becomes blank, and we move out into ether land, and we live forever. Those sorts of things are being promoted by the futurists, the thinkers that are deeply embedded philosophically in a lot of these major organizations that are now investing trillions of dollars in these giant data centers. It's coming to your hometown. I know in Northern Virginia, we're starved for electricity because we're feeding these data banks that are tethered to AI. And AI, of course, is going to consume maybe a tenth of the energy, if not more, in the United States in the next 5 years. And it's going to consume a lot of fresh water. It's going to cost us trillions of dollars. Where does that end us?
Ladies and gentlemen, are you starting to see just a taste of why I say you have to get the book? We can't do this in 30 minutes on TV, but this book is filled with thoughtful commentaries that help people navigate these very complex webs.
Yeah. Joe, I wanted to mention there are 22 appendices in this book. I go through the narrative, I give you examples, but some people want to dig in more. They want to understand the technology. And one of the reasons I went to MIT is to kind of get an insight into the technical side. I can deal with a lot of the theological and some of these societal issues and so forth. But to see where this is going, if you really want to dive deeply, it's there. And hopefully even the follow-on that I'm working on will take even further.
Because we're dealing with limited time, Bob, we should switch gears. How is the United States integrating AI into K through 12 education, and what are the potential benefits and maybe dangers of AI for children's development in general? I mean, this is something we're already navigating. Whether you're watching this program and this is a brand new concept, it's already happening. Your kids are being inundated with AI. It's a part of academia now.
Yeah, well, the President of the United States, President Trump, has mandated it in schools. He has an AI plan, which affects 90 different agencies and sub-agencies that are required to introduce AI into the workforce and so forth. So, where this ends, I don't know. Education-wise, it's scary. A lot of jobs are requiring an AI competency before you get hired. And, if you don't have that competency, because it accelerates your productivity in certain areas, and that's very important to employers. There's been a number of studies by Google, Microsoft, and so forth that have looked at the jobs that are going to survive and those that are going to go to the wayside in the future. And so the education establishments have begun to look at that. I know some of the papers I wrote for MIT, I had to consider the jobs that are going away, and I had to say, this is how it can be applied to these jobs. And kids need to understand that it can cripple you or it can accelerate you depending upon how you use it. It can cripple you if you become overly dependent, if you plagiarize materials, if you let it write, if you let it think for you, if you make it your social operating system that you totally depend upon, and you forget your parents, you forget your pastor, you forget anything else except for that AI on the desk that's telling you how to live. And of course, in some cases, it's tragically leading you down to a very dangerous place in life, especially away from the Lord, especially in a very demonic-like environment.
Yes.
And, teachers need to be very sensitive to that. Most students, according to surveys, indicate that, yes, they've used it. at the high school, especially the college level. How do they use it? They don't quite acknowledge all the ways because they don't want to get caught. And the teachers can use it. I have actually what's called discern framework from which Christian educators can use AI in a way that is going to help the students and help the teachers to accomplish their mission. So there's a lot in there. It's really intriguing how it's going to transmorph, I would say, the whole education approach that we have had in the past. It has frightened a lot of teachers. You need to jump in there. You need to recognize
you need to navigate it.
Yeah.
How
You really
to
do.
even adapt and facilitate it as a teacher, because you're not going to stop
You're
it.
not. It's here.
As you say, teachers are finding this to be very disturbing development in the classroom. I read an essay a couple of weeks ago by a college professor of English who said that kids today, it's not that they don't read anymore, it's that they don't see the reason, they don't see the need to read anything longer than a menu. As long as they can read the menu, and okay, I want the fajitas or whatever, because everything else they just run through ChatGPT or whatever and gives them the answers they need. So this teacher is assigning these works of great literature for them to read and analyze. They just run it through ChatGPT and they get two types of essays. One that looks like it's written at a 6th grade level, and again, college professor. The second, very polished and smooth, and very clearly that it was written by ChatGPT.
Right.
So again, kids are coming out, as you say, they're stunted, and teachers are just growing increasingly frustrated because they don't know how to engage.
Well, the agentic AI can also have a memory. There's a mechanism which you can build a memory as a sidebar, that will feed it because it often loses that memory. But if you do that, then it will know who you are. It has come to know me as an author, and it helps me, and guides some of what I've said in the past and reminds me of what I ought to be perhaps considering in the future. So it's really evolving in ways that we didn't anticipate a couple of years ago.
And it's a well-documented fact, the erosion of the nuclear family, the construct that, once made this nation amazing. You can see kids now leaning on AI to be, when they're being abused at home or they have neglect at home, their best friend.
Yes.
It's the only place they're being affirmed or told they have value, or other malevolent things, talked into things that are terrible or catastrophic. But they're not going to mom and dad.
Yeah, Familia.ai.com, which is a San Francisco-based company, has put together avatars that you feed in the voice of a loved one that's deceased, their visuals. They will present that person and also the mannerisms. And you can talk to them all day long. And they're going to give you advice. You're going to feel comfortable and so forth. That is evolving to the point you just can't distinguish that from talking to somebody who's alive and is there,
But these little kids are victims. They have no clue that that's what
They
it
don't.
is.
And they're
So
being
dangerous.
programmed and groomed
That's right.
by these algorithms.
By your public school systems that feel as if they're mandated to present this, and the teachers that have bought into this. There was a big program in Kansas that Microsoft hosted with all the teachers, and they put all these programs in there with the GPT, and it created what they call good outcomes. But they are beginning to train them at a very early age as to how to harness this, and it can go in all sorts of very unfortunate ways if we're not careful. So it's out there and it's in your face.
It seems like one answer to this would be to homeschool, but don't a lot of homeschool parents rely upon the internet?
Well, they do, and they also can't stop the fact that most of the curriculum creators now are adapting to using AI. Unless you're like my oldest daughter, who says that it's time for all of us to be growing our own food, exiting Babylon, creating our own medicine.
Yes.
No, she's done with the whole thing.
Yes.
And you can see this grin on my face because it's that's my daughter. I must have did something. Well, no, we'll give my wife credit. Something sort of right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we want to remind you that Skywatch TV is a viewer-supported ministry. And right now, when you partner with us, your support not only helps us stay on the air, it also enables us to continue the mission through our networks and digital platforms, reach areas of the world with the gospel of Jesus Christ that are unable to support us financially. Right now, while supplies last, for your donation of only $29.99 or more, we're not only going to send you AI for Mankind Humankind's Future, a Christian perspective on the high-tech revolution. But we're also going to send you Lieutenant Colonel Robert Maginnis' best-selling books, Kings of the East, China's Plan to Eliminate America and Impose a Communist World Order, and the incredibly patriotic Give Me Liberty, Not Marxism. These amazing works, sold separately, hold a retail value of over $60. Yours now for your donation of only $29.99 or more, which includes free shipping to all U.S. addresses. Your support helps Skywatch TV continue reaching the world with the gospel of Jesus Christ. You can scan the QR code on your screen using the camera app on your phone for instant access to this special opportunity. You can also visit us at skywatchtvstore.com or call 1-844-750-4985 and ask for the AI for Humankind's Future special offer right now. Don't miss out on this one, ladies and gentlemen. Bob, with just a few minutes left, we're going to have to race through some of this, and I hate doing that. I wish we had more time. But how has AI transformed our political processes, our media consumption, and what are the major risks of AI in elections? People have already damaged trust of the electoral process. And then we're talking about local and state federal engagement, essential in AI regulation. You can see this whole apparatus getting bigger, and it's flexing, and it's swelling. How are Christians in particular supposed to navigate all of that?
Yeah, Sharon mentioned earlier about AI telling the medical community whether you can provide this treatment to this person or not because of scarce resources. So yes, AI regulation is out there. It's being mandated at the federal level for all major agencies, and it can be a very helpful tool in certain areas, but it does not represent the things that we're concerned about as Christians, dignity, stewardship, agencies, and
Election
so forth.
results.
Election results. Now, we've all had good reason to believe that our elections are somewhat distorted and not reliable. But, the manipulation is real. In the last presidential campaign, Mr. Trump was presented, with AI in a very distorted way. And so was Mr. Biden, frankly. And so was both sides. But AI has been used to manipulate us and what we see and what we consume. And it's sending messages that are subliminal as well as forthright. And it's not only in voice, but it's in visuals and so forth. So we need to recognize that it is radically distorting our political process. And how do you, as a consumer of information, distinguish between AI and not? Some of the websites I look at every day show me, here are two images, which is AI. Most of the time I can't tell. I really can't. I look at videos, I can't tell what's real and what's not. So in an environment where you don't know what is real and truth, you have to fall back to a different position. And for a Christian, that means you need to be prayerful. You need to recognize by staying in the Word how to distinguish between good and evil. Being part of the image of God, we need to recognize that we have a unique salt and light role in this world. And to call out fakery, AI, is important. Now, we need to use it properly, but at the same time, we need to recognize what it is. I think Derek mentioned earlier the distortion of arguments, especially at the appellate level in the Supreme Court. And it just creates from whole cloth entire cases that justify this outcome. Those are well documented, so we're not making anything up here. That's why a lot of lawyers are going to find out in the future they don't have jobs, because AI can do a much better job of writing a legal brief than they can, because it has all the world's information available at a finger's click. It can translate very quickly any language, any court case, anything in the world. So the political, the courts, the administration at the local level, whether it's overseeing utility distribution, which is a problem, water, electricity, food,
everything,
and it's involved directly in that. Certainly I go into the economic implications, the retail implications, and how they profile me. They know me. They track everything I do on my iPhone, on the computer. They
Right.
know what I buy. They present the advertisements. They know the enticements. They know my vulnerabilities. They know me better than I know myself. So we're in an age we've never been before. We're in a place that's going to accelerate as never before. And if we don't start waking up, then we're going to be in a very bad place in the future.
What are you going to bet utility companies using AI are going to find that the AI is prioritizing water and electricity for the data centers?
Well, of course
Really?
it is. I am shocked.
Yeah.
That's right.
But we're very quickly moving into Minority Report era
Yeah.
where it will be pre-crime.
Yep.
Based on everything you've been doing online, we're pretty sure you're thinking about doing XYZ.
Right.
Yep.
Well, they anticipate that. And they anticipate your vulnerability to certain diseases that your parents have and that you may likely have in the future. So we're not going to let you have any whatever
Oh, exactly.
at
There's no
this
point,
point because we don't have the resources. This is where we're going with this stuff.
Do you see any value, Bob, in Christians trying to play a role in ethics or, push for laws that would prohibit the use of AI in classrooms or certain legal apparatus? I mean, is there any value in that, or is there something else maybe as Christians we should be focused on?
Well, I think if Christians aren't involved, we're in trouble. When the internet came about during the time of Bill Clinton said, no, I don't want to put any guardrails, any limitations on the internet. And, in some cases it worked out. We've got very powerful politicians of all political persuasions today that are saying you don't want to put guardrails around AI. And as a result, some states have already tried and they've been pushed back by federal, legislation and regulation. I believe that we may end up being an alternative view that says you need to have guardrails in spite of the fact that we're in an AI arms race that is very, very critical because our enemies, the Chinese, the Russians, the Iranians, you name them, they are going to tether AI for their own bad purposes. And they're going to take advantage of our weakness, which is to uphold liberty and freedom and justice and freedom of religion and so forth.
I don't think there could be a more opportune time to start praying for serious discernment.
Yeah.
And I believe that that's true not only in the church, from pastors should be preaching this.
Yeah.
Folks, be praying for discernment. It should happen on a national level. It should happen in the churches, but also it should happen in an individual level. When we sit down at the end of the day and we say, hey, ChatGPT, what does this verse mean? We have opened up something that is a Pandora's box of inaccuracy. I've seen theology murdered by ChatGPT and other chatbots. And over and over and over again, I have sat there at my computer and I have literally prayed a prayer of discernment. Lord, block me from the inaccuracies. Every article is now affected by this. Our most trusted ministries of yesterday are now using ChatGPT to write their theological standpoints. I've seen theology go from literally black to white in 1 second, depending on how you phrase a question. Discernment like we have never prayed for in history over our own individual minds. Lord, supernaturally block what is coming into my mind that is anything but something that slipped through only your truth filter. That is what we should be praying every day.
Not enough time to cover it all, but join us next week when our guest returns to talk about AI-powered military combat and global conflict. It's not one you're going to want to miss. For everybody here in studio, everybody here on panel, Bob, thank you so much once again for being here this week. I'm Joe Artis Horn. Keep your eyes on the prize, which is Jesus Christ. We'll be back.